net present value or NPV. NPV is the sum of present values of all expected incremental cash flows if a project is undertaken. In crude sense, NPV is the absolute dollar value profit that one will make if he invests into a project. Now, when you invest into a project, you know what the cash flows are going to be. So initially there's a cash investment followed by positive set of cash flows that you're going to get on the project. When you discount these projects cash flow at a required rate of return across time, what you get is the net present value, which means the first thing that you need to do is calculate the present value of each cash flow and net them off, which means cash inflow versus cash outflow. What is left is the net present value, which is nothing but the absolute profit that you are making when you invest into the project. Now, can I say as long as NPV of a project is positive, you're making profit on the project and you should accept the project? Which means the rule is if NPV is positive or more than 0, you should accept the project. If NPV is negative, you should reject the project because you're making a loss. But if NPV is 0, you are actually indifferent about accepting or rejecting the project. Now let's take an example to understand NPV better. Using the project cash flows presented in the table below, compute the NPV of each project's cash flows and determine for each project whether it should be accepted or rejected. Assume that the cost of capital is 10%. So we have two projects, project A and B, and the cash flows associated with A and B are given as the initial investment for project A and B both are $2,000. For project A, the cash flows are $1,000 at the end of first year, $800 at the end of second year, $600 at the end of third year, and $200 at the end of fourth year. Similarly, the cash flows for project B are $200, $600, $800, and $1,200 for the next 4 years. We need to calculate the net present value for these two projects. Let's use the calculator to solve this. Now on your calculator, you have a CF function, which is the second button on the second row. When you press that, you see CF0 is equal to some number. Now it's possible that some prior memory is fed, which you need to clear by pressing second and clear work button, which is a lower left corner button. After pressing that, you see CF0 is 0, which means now the prior memory is erased. Now let's plug in all the cash flows associated with project A. So on point 0, the cash outflow is $2,000. So I press 2,000, change that to negative because it's a cash outflow, and save that by pressing second. Now to go to cash flow at point 1, I press the down arrow button once. I see C01, cash flow at point 1 is $1,000. So I press 1,000, save that by pressing enter. Now when I press down arrow button once, I see F01, which means the frequency with which the cash flow is repeated. In this case, there is no cash flow that is repeated, so I skip F by pressing down arrow button once. I see C02, which is cash flow at point 2, which is 800. I press enter to save it. Now every time I press the down arrow button, I need to press it twice to skip F. Cash flow at point 3 is 600. And cash flow at point 4 is 200. Now all my cash flows are fed. Now I need to tell the calculator what I require. I require the NPV, so I press NPV, which is this. When I press NPV, I see I is equal to 0, which means in order to calculate the NPV, the calculator requires the discount rate, which is I. So I press discount rate as 10% and save it as I by pressing enter. Now I press the down arrow button to see NPV and press compute button to calculate the net present value. The NPV that I see is 157.64 rounded off. So I get the NPV as 157.64, which is nothing but the present value of all cash flows discounted at 10% netted off against each other gives me a net present value of 157.64. Now what does that mean? It means that if I invest in this project, I'll get a total profit of 157.64 on a time adjusted basis. Now, as long as the NPV is positive, I should accept the project. So in this case, because the NPV is positive, I'll accept project A. Now let's do the same thing for project B. So we have the cash flows for project B. So on the calculator, let's first erase the memory by pressing CF and second CE. Now let's quickly plug in the numbers for project B. So 2000 negative, enter. Cash flow at point 1 is 200, enter. For 2 it is 600, enter. For 3 it is 800, enter. And for 4 it is 1200 and enter. I'll press NPV and save I as 10%. Press the down arrow button and calculate NPV. I get the NPV as 98.36 rounded off. Which means if I invest in project B on a time adjusted basis, my profit is $98.36. Again, because it is positive, project B is profitable and I will accept the project. This is net present value. What you have on the slide is the rule to use the calculator, which we've already seen some time back. So you have the cash flows of project A and B, and you have the keystrokes that you need to use for calculation.